Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Satoshi Ishikawa. It's a great honor to me to meet all of you today, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the RIHN staffs for providing me with this opportunity. Everyone, I was a project leader in this institute in 8 years before. Today, I would like to talk about some outcomes of our project. Firstly, I would like to talk about my academic background. I had researched fish biology, and anchovy, anglerfish, and panfish, and several freshwater fishes in Japan and Southeast Asian countries. And I deeply studied an eel species. Do you know eel? It's the unagi. It's a very expensive and very delicious species in Japan. I have participated in the research cruise for searching spawning site of Japanese eel, and I was in charge of the species identifications using the morphological and molecular methods on the vessels. I am a fishery scientist, so I have much interesting about the fishery resource management. But unfortunately, many papers around the crisis of ocean ecosystems and fisheries resources. Regarding these issues, many states and countries and areas already took some countermeasures. For example, in 1995, FAO published one guidebook named the Code of Conduct of Responsible Fisheries. And many countries and states follow these guidelines and conduct statistical surveys and set many regulations to avoid overfishing. In tuna fishing, there are many good results for fisheries management. But I think this approach is quite important for commercial fisheries like tuna and salmon, etc. But how about the small-scale fisheries? Because the FAO approach needs a lot of statistical data, including fisheries catch, amount of sorted by the species, and the data fishing operations, including number of fishing net operations. In addition, we need the many biological data of the target species, spawning size, spawning season, fecundity, growth rate, etc., etc. Using these data, we can calculate the fishery resource sizes. Then we can set the appropriate fishing cap, the limit of fish catch of each species. After this, we decide some regulation to avoid overfishing in the scientifically. This activity is quite time-consuming and costly, very costly exercise. And this actually, there are two types of fisheries. One is a commercial fisheries. It's like a tuna and salmon, sardine, and something. This for commercial fisheries. The FAO approach is very efficiently. It's very good for this fishery. However, in the world, there are another type of fishing, so small-scale fisheries. In the small-scale fisheries, many species caught at the same time. Various kinds of fishing gears were used in the small-scale fisheries, and each fishing gear have different pressures of each species. There are no particular landing sites, and a lot of residents conduct small-scale fisheries in anywhere. For the small-scale fishing, data collection itself is very quite difficult. Even these data are indispensable for stock evaluations. For the FL approach, the small-scale fisheries name is the small, however, the fish catch is not so small, because half of the world fisheries catch is produced by small-scale fisheries, and more than 12 million people worldwide depend on the small-scale fisheries for their livelihood. Many small-scale fishermen are usually poor, and they don't have other income source and meaning of the secure food. So, very strict fishing regulations is sometimes difficult to apply for them. And I would like to mention about another risk of fishery resources. That is the environmental changes. 150 years ago, in the Tokyo Bay, there were large tidal floods. But during the rapid economic growth period from 1940, 90% of tidal floods were reclaimed. According to this urbanization, many fishers quit their job. Then fishing pressure decreased. But after environment changed, fishery productivities have not recovered. In recent years, many fishery scientists said the main causes of resource fluctuation of fishery resources is environmental changes. This figure shows the fluctuation of fishery resources around Japan. The resource fluctuated of sardine, squid, anchovy were matched with the sea condition changing. Environmental changes have the more determinant effect on fishery resources than overfishing. In case for the small-scale fisheries, we cannot put the severe regulations without additional helps for small-scale fishermen, because it's very indispensable for their life. On the other hand, we should do something of the conservation activities for save marine ecosystems currently. Here, I would like to propose the area capability approach, which is comprised of the both resource utilization and care action of natures. So far, we made one model of the area capability approach based on several good practice of fisheries development and action in Japan and Southeast Asian countries. So from here, I would like to mention about some good practice of the area capability approach. The first case is stock enhancement in Kuruma Brown in Hamada Lake in Japan. Hamada Lake, located in the Shizuoka Prefecture near the Mount Fuji, this lake had been treated as a quite important traffic place in Japan. Especially in Edo period, government did not allow to make bridge in this lake to protect the capitals with the enemies inside of Japan. And they forbade the communicate among 7 villages along the lakes. But they conduct the fishing in the same lake. So conflict among the fishers, among the village, that usually happens. So before I mentioned that, the rapid economic growth period in Japan, the nature in coastal areas were broken due to the reclamation and water pollution. Marine organisms, marine creatures lost their spawning and nursery ground, then the fishery catch and fishery resources drastically decreased. Many fishers expressed a complaint against the government for causing the environmental deteriorations. At the time, Japanese government decided to start the stock enhancement project. In this project, governmental stock enhancement centers conduct larval juvenile released as a compensations for the environmental deteriorations. The basic strategy of the fishery stock enhancement in Japan is comprised of 4 steps like this. In the artificial breeding at the stock enhancement centers, and intermediate aquaculture at the local site, and release juveniles and larvae, then the stock enhanced, and better catch and better incomes. However, these are theoretical stories. In the realities at the time, there are no artificial breeding technologies. There are no collaborations of the fishers and researchers and government. And there are no information about stock status. No manpowers. It's very difficult to conduct this project in any fields. Around the Hamana Lake, as I mentioned before, the 7 fishermen's village, before the start of the stock enhancement project, they don't have any collaboration with them. But industrialization was affected on this area also, and fishery stock were deteriorated rapidly. 1978, Stock Enhancement Center established as a government project located in the red mark. But there are no collaborations, no participation of the fishers because many fishers believed stock recovered naturally in near futures. Dr. Fushimi, he was dispatched of these stock enhancement centers, and he was in charge of the project. As the first 2 years, he conducts the environmental survey to decide the intermediate aquaculture at the site, and he developed the technology at artificial breeding by himself. And he succeeded in 3 million larvae released. 2 years later, young fishermen at the Shirasu village. Shirasu village located close near to intermediate aquaculture site and the stock enhancement centers. They start a collaboration with Dr. Fushimi. Then, the 3rd year, they succeeded in 30 million larval prawn released. Then, drastically increased the small shrimp catch. After that, the many fishermen start the collaboration with Dr. Fushimi. They participate in the stock enhancement project, and then conduct the environmental surveys, and they succeeded in the 100 million seeds released. 1985, this project is terminated. The budget from the government is stopped. But at that time, the fishermen start the donation, their money, to continue their stock enhancement activity by themselves. What changes happen in the village along the lake? Voluntary activities of fishermen started, and intermediate aquaculture of rubber plant and environmental monitoring and stops small shrimps, prawns, and set fishery regulation by themselves and unify the wholesale system. All 7 villages landing in the one site, and also donation for stock enhancement project. And mutual trust among government, fishermen, and researchers is developed, and fishery statistics were collected, and stock evaluation was done for the regulation. And care natures create new values of fisheries product in the market. We tested the similar activities in Philippines. We start the collaboration with the Philippine University, and we visit the community and explained our project aims and formulate our voluntary teams. We made the intermediate aquaculture site at the lake, and we conducted the environment survey with fishers. We collect the several data, and we conduct the monitoring the stocks and status and with local fishermen. We conduct the 6-time release with fishers. And after third release, one big prawn was caught by fishermen with tag. This success, it changed the mind of the fishermen and villagers. So similar social changes were observed in Bataan Bay in the Philippines. And the prawn stock was increased and livelihood also increased through the stock enhancement project. Recently, I have been working with a fisherman to improve spawning ground using artificial seaweed. This artificial seaweed called sealant, it can easily create spawning and nurturing ground, and additionally, sealant also the function as the base of the natural seaweed and seagrasses, like this. In Japan, we conduct the sealant project in Shizuoka and Nagasaki and Kyoto. We succeeded in making the spawning and nursery ground and increasing the fisheries catch. So we test the similar activity in Cambodia. We get permission to install of this artificial seaweed from the government. Then we visited the coastal areas. We explained our activities as the local fishers, and we start the collaboration. After 1 day, the installation of the artificial seaweed, you can see as many small fish around the sealand. And we asked the community member to care of this site. After 1 year, we visit at the site again, and we checked what kind of change happened. Community members decided their own regulation by fishing around the sealand site. 18 fishers conduct the fishing around sealand site and get larger benefit from fishing comparing before. Daily income from fishing is approximately $39 per day, and their fishing grounds placed near their village, so they there is no need to use for fuel for the boat. So benefit is higher than before. Then we ask the fishermen to take note of their fish daily activities and daily catch. And we propose the co-management system for the coastal fisheries to them, and the local government is accepted our offers. We think this is a good trigger for starting the co-management system of coastal fishery. Just start from the collaboration with the researchers, government, and fishermen. These are one figures co-management system. We make the seaweed bed with fishermen, and they started the new fishing ground, the new fishing landing site. We can get easily the statistical data, and feedback system also affected to improve their life and also the monitoring and the environmental situations and the fishery resource status. Create the effective utilization of our local resources by communities. We can easily start about collaboration of the local residents and government and academic members. And then we put the appropriate care about the ecosystems. If once the AC cycle is created, we can use of the sustainable use. We can achieve the sustainable use of local resources. So increase of the AC cycles is the most important to the target for sustainable rural development, I think. Many AC cycle means many resources and many community activities and many choice of life. Now we facing the drastic environment changes, but if there are many choices, we can achieve the sustainable society. Traditional food and also the many traditional crafts is also the important local resources. I would like to propose to find the local resources to use for the local communities. Thank you very much for your attention.